I want to start this podcast by saying this was not actually my plan to talk about. I have a whole strict regime of what episodes I'm going to do, but every now and then a topic comes up and it needs discussing. And today I want you to picture something. I want you to picture a photographer on the ground, not metaphorically, not like just laying there for happy chills. I'm talking about physically pushed, pinned down by ICE agents in the United States. Boots, knees, weight, authority pushed down on him shouting, "I can't breathe," which may give you moments back to a certain other incident where someone said they couldn't breathe. And all because he had a camera. Meanwhile, another photographer, Pierre Levi, I'm really sorry if I said that name, lifts his camera exact moment to freeze that moment in history. And in that frame is John Abernathy, a working photojournalist being thrown to the ground for simply doing his job. And then something extraordinary happened. John doesn't protect his body first. He already shouts, "I can't breathe." He's in pain. He's even acknowledged this later on. He protects the evidence. He throws his Leica M, God, that breaks my heart, to another person so the images cannot be confiscated. Not because it's a Leica and not because it's expensive, because once those images are gone, once they are obtained by these authorities, they could be gone forever. And that story belongs to them now. It wasn't a moment about bravery, it was about intent. And this is where this episode is about, because in 2026, protest photography is split down the middle. We have one side of photographers bearing witness, knowing the risk, understanding the weight and what they're documenting. And on the other side, I wouldn't say it's, I say it's split down the middle. Not entirely, but there is a split, there is a divide, because the other side is content creators somehow chasing virality, adrenaline, and clout, and turning people's real resistance into background scenery for their own personal brand. The same streets, the same protests, very different reasons for being there. And I know this is going to cause a lot of controversy when I say this, but I was utterly appalled today when in fact, it was yesterday and today, I was on TikTok and I scrolled through and I saw this photographer who was out there talking about, "Oh, today I went to the protest to take photographs of ICE agents and make pictures of them," right? And he was photographing them and printing them off and handing them over. Now, I don't know what that was for, because you're not you're handing them the present. I don't know. Maybe you're trying to identify them. I don't know. It came across as very clout chasing, because there's a whole thing that everyone's doing. Even a guy in my own town's doing it, which is great. But it's not in this context. Photographing and then giving prints away. There is also another one where there was a photographer who was like, "This is how to get more aesthetically pleasing." Well, I didn't say aesthetically, how to get more great color balance. I thought it was satire. I thought it was ironic, but apparently no, this person was telling you how to color grade your protest pictures. And I was just like, no, this is not it. Go color grade a landscape picture. Go color grade a portrait. Not this. Okay. I think before anyone says this is an American problem, it really isn't. We have our own unrest here in the UK, recent riots, heavy police presence, tensions high, lines blur between protest disorder and public fear. I have attended riots. I have attended protests. No, I can't say I've attended riots. No, I have to be very careful. I've attended protests, not riots. I'm not a riot lover. I have attended protests. I have come up against when we thought there was riots going to happen. I have not willingly been the aggressor. That's what I need to just say before I get myself in a load of trouble. Let me tell you something very clearly. The atmosphere is very different when it's your streets. Here in Northampton, we had the threat of the riots coming here. Do you remember in the summer when all these people were robbing Greggs and shouting racist chants and pulling people out of cars because they didn't look British enough? Yeah. And the disgusting actions. I mean, imagine getting a criminal record because you decided to go on a riot and rob JD Sports. I mean, honestly. Anyway, I also remember the guy with Greggs. He stole loads of yum-yums. Anyway, I mean, they threatened to come to Northampton, and that's the riot I attended, is in the fact I was the person with the whole town, it felt like, that was stood against them. Not in our town, not welcome. It was freaking amazing. We stood there on the Kettering Road, ready, stood side by side by so many different people. I remember very clearly there was a moment where I looked up Clare Street, which has got the mosque on it on one side. And I just saw this group of men looming. We were, oh my God, who are they? They were ginormous. It was the Slavics. It was the Russians, the Ukrainians. They were chanting, "Our streets, our street." And it was freaking stunning, mate. It was absolutely, this is our town. This is what we have found. And I stood there and I'm very proud. They didn't show up, by the way. The racists never show up. I think they were scared now because they know that nobody wanted them. And it was so important for me to be on that line, because I wanted these white supremacists, that's how I saw them, to be faced with another white face. Another white face. Say, you don't speak for me. You don't speak for us. You don't speak for this nation. You don't understand this nation's history if you stand on the other side of that line. We were founded by so many. I'm going to go on a rant. I know I'm very passionate about this. If you follow my TikToks, my other TikTok, you'll know I am. But also, I stood there with a camera strapped to my chest, which is my Insta 360 go. It's magnetic, so I could record everybody so they could see what we were seeing. I had my rights card in my back pocket and a solicitor's card in another. Okay. I also had my camera because I was ready, because whatever was going to happen, I needed it documented, because I know from a very early age that it is crucial we document our history. Okay. It is so different when that is on your street, okay? When it's not international news crews, but local photographers, freelancers, content creators, and people with phones trying to work out where they stand, it feels different. The UK likes to believe it handles protests better, quieter, more controlled, but it doesn't. It doesn't mean it's harmless. We have kettling, stop and search, broad discretionary powers, confiscation risks, and threats. Listen, I'm not saying that everything is inherently bad in the UK, but we have it's different, mate. It's different. I think one of the things we can almost be grateful for is that we don't have ice. In fact, we can be grateful we don't have them. Although there is now talk of them showing up at the Olympics, which, that is in Italy. But also, yeah. But control does not mean harmless, okay? And a growing hostility towards cameras, especially when the narrative isn't neat, is something I'm seeing. And I'm seeing this during protests and riots where there's fear on all sides. Protesters are afraid of being identified because there is pressure on them, right? They could lose their jobs. They could be discriminated against. They could be outed. It's like they could be doxxed, okay? Police are under pressure to contain rather than to communicate. It feels like, in my opinion, at times. I will say, though, I want to just say this. The Northamptonshire police, on that day when they were coming, they had the riot police out. They had the police out, and they were right. They were covered in all their gear ready. And I knew, because, do you know what? I don't blame them for showing up in all that gear. We saw what was happening. They were throwing missiles at them. They were, I mean, missiles as in like, I don't mean like when I say missiles, I don't mean like the ones that you're hearing in war zones. I mean like, like bottles and stuff. Yeah, that's what I mean. They were getting hurt, right? I have no problem in them doing. Do you know what was lovely? They engaged with us. They talked to us. They chatted with us. They were friendly, and they were there. Look, we're here for protection, and it was so okay for me. I know a lot of people weren't, but I was like, if this goes down, I want you to be arresting these guys. I want you to be arresting these people who are coming to our town to incite this. And do you know what? Some of the police were there. Some of them even danced with us, and they said it was really good. And what was wonderful was that when you looked at the face of these riot police officers, they weren't just white faces, okay? I can only applaud an officer who is not white, who stands there and knows that these people might be coming to threaten them just because of the color of their skin or the god they choose to worship or not worship, right? And I look at them and go, that must be a very difficult thing for you to do, because you have your police head, your human head, and then you have your family and your life and all that. And I know you're probably going to come from it, but I applaud for that, because that level of restraint is incredible. And I know people have opinions on the police, but the ones I've met have always been in Northampton wonderful. And I know this sounds pretty bad. Anyway, if you know the guy called Rod, you'll know who I'm talking about. Especially, he's a bit of a legend in our town. Sorry. He does the best eye rolls when he's unimpressed. It's brilliant. He's also been on TV. Sorry, I sound like a fangirl for him, but everyone loves this guy. He's amazing. But I want to tell you now, photographers and videographers are often caught in the middle, trying to decide whether documenting the moment is worth the escalation. And that's the reality now. It's not theoretical. It's not important from the US. It's happening right now. I paid for a photographer who was short on cash to go to a protest. The whole time I was there, I was worried about him. I made sure that he understood. Like, I know it's like a bit of an overbearing. I sent him messages saying, hey, guy, I won't out him on here. Please make sure you know your exit routes, take care of yourself, keep an eye on everything you're doing, and always keep an eye on your peripheral. As someone who has been in these situations, please remember your peripherals. But let's talk about why this work has always mattered, long before hashtags and reels, long before we were all going, hey, drop us a like, subscribe. History doesn't remember vibes, baby boy, baby girl, baby anybody. It remembers records. The civil rights movement, anti-war protests, miners' strikes, poll tax riots, everything, right? We don't understand these moments because of official statements. We understand them because someone stood there with a camera while it was uncomfortable, dangerous, and deeply unpopular. Protest photography isn't neutral, and it never has been, and it never will be. The camera threatens power because it removes plausible deniability. It turns nothing happened into this happened, and that's exactly why videographers and photographers are being targeted. Okay, and that's how I feel. If you had heard the statement on that nurse, that ICU nurse in America that has lost their life, would you listen to the press release or would you rather watch the video? the video of onlookers, the videos of even their own body cam, man. What would you rather? Because I tell you what, they don't line up in my opinion, and I know which one I would rather be on. That Leica moment was not about gear, it was about survival of evidence, and this is part that photographers and videographers don't prepare for. If you don't just document the conflict, you are entering it. Police don't always differentiate between press, protesters, or bystanders, especially when tensions rise. And I know, right? We've heard news in other countries where press are literally being targeted by soldiers. We've heard this, right? We've seen it where you've seen the videos. If you're on TikTok, but especially, I think TikTok's really good for getting an insight into some of the riots, because you're seeing it from people's POV. I often watch it with the sound off so I can kind of watch the body language more, which is a good thing to see because sometimes, I can't always make up what they're saying and whatever, but it's very interesting to see that the moment someone's being filmed, they up their aggression, and yet they're out in public. There's CCTV over. What is it? Because they can't control the video or the photo of the person taking it. So it seems to be they push cameras away. They throw. You even see it with the so-called Karen videos, right? Once somebody's filming you, they act a whole lot different, don't they? And they know that if they film you, well, I'll just film you too. And somehow that becomes a power move because they know how damaging it can be. Okay. In the US, it escalates fast, and I'm seeing this. It escalates to the point of death. It really does. It's shocking. And I cannot sit here and say I am not shocked, and I am not scared for the people out there doing it. And I cannot do nothing but applaud your bravery for documenting this. In the UK, it's a little quieter, but I don't feel it's not as intimidating, but it's still no less intimidating. I don't really know if that's the right terminology. I know press photographers who've been hit. I remember going on a protest in London and I got smacked in the back of the head. It was accidental. I will I will just say that. I'm not laughing about it, but there was a scuffle that would happen and they were trying to detain somebody. And I ended up getting hit in the back of the head. It really hurt. And I would say, like, I know that one person came running over. Oh my God, are you okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. I've dealt with worse. I'm ex-military. I grew up in a very different childhood. But it's still, if you've never, if you think you're safe, you're never going to be. And I know that's awful to say this. You need to be so aware of what's happening. I have been stopped once to ask what I was doing when I was photographing, and all I had was a film camera. The guy was like, "Can I see the photos?" Well, no, it's a film camera. No, I'd have to develop it. And he goes, "Well, I will open the back." No, that will destroy the film, and you have no right to do that. I always keep my rights card on me. You can get them, print them off, you can find them. I always have it for photography specifically because some people are under the impression that police can delete your images. No, they need a court order for the most part. I've had equipment, like I said, questioned. I've even asked people to show me images. And there is a legal reality check. So I'm going to talk about the UK. It's general and it's not legal advice. Please go seek that elsewhere from a professional. You can photograph in public spaces. Police can, however, stop you under certain powers. They genuinely cannot delete images, like I said, without a court order, but they can seize equipment on specific circumstances, which does mean if your memory card is in there, that goes with it. Top tip, hop it out before you hand it over. Just saying. Or do what I used to do, which was have it back up straight away to my phone. But how can I say this? It matters to know that protest laws in the UK are tightening, whether you believe that's for the better or for good, they are tightening. Broad powers mean photographers can get swept up even when acting legally. Freedom of the press, all of this, it's every time there's a court case, it comes on about it. The laws tighten, the eyeballs look at us a little bit harder. It is not good. And also, I think it doesn't help when content creators themselves are out there flaunting the lines and making a mockery at times. Not all of them. Please, please, please. Not all of them. But as we know in the world of social media, the fickleness of the internet, that it only takes one person to backlash everybody and suddenly we're all tarred with the same brush. I know that's absolutely idiocracy and it's stupid, but it happens. I remember one time some girl doing fit checks at a protest. I was just like, what? Like, what? But in the US, it's different. Again, I'm going to tell you, please seek additional legal advice. I am just giving what I understand, and I am not a legal body. America has strong First Amendment protections, but the reality on the ground does not always match that, in my opinion. And press credentials don't always protect you, despite you thinking they will. Knowing your rights matter, but it seems it doesn't even make you immune if you know your rights, because I cannot fathom it. I mean, I literally saw, was it ICE agents trying to get into a consulate, which is not, they don't have any jurisdiction. They were still trying to get in. It's like they're not educated. Like, it feels in my head, I'm probably going to get myself on lists for this, but Surely, if you're putting people out on the street with this absolute power to do what they're doing, whether it's legal or not, it seems like most people are telling me it's legal. You are not educating them enough to, hey, you can't go into a consulate. You cannot go into here without a warrant. So why are you? And who's monitoring them? Because to me, it just spanks of lawlessness. It's like the Wild West movies out there, but it's worse because it's not a make-believe. There isn't John Wayne walking down the road going, "I've got you, guys." That's a terrible John Wayne impression. But it's not. This is real lives and real people and 5-year-olds being chucked in the back of cars to be swept off somewhere that nobody really knows or could get a 5-year-old child. I know you're going to tell me, Khandie, you've watched too much, but I just cannot fathom how you can take a 5-year-old who is legally here by all accounts. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misread that, but a 5-year-old child. What threat is a 5-year-old? I don't know. I don't get it. And then you have was it your first lady talking about child protection? Yeah. Release the Epstein files, mates. Sorry, I'm chucking this way too political. But just because you can photograph something doesn't mean you always should. And I know that's something that really sits heavy with people. It's an ethical minefield. Protests involve vulnerable people, and there is a real risk of retaliation against those people. Your images can be weaponized. It can affect their immigration status, their employment status, and even have safety consequences for them. Faces can be identified. People can be tracked from them. That is why some people wear masks to protect it so they don't have the repercussions. They want their presence and their voice heard, but they don't necessarily want the backlash because for their own safety and their own reasons. Okay? If your goal is for likes, then don't be there, please. Step away, leave it. But if your goal is for truth and preservation of history as it happens and not to make sure that history is retold through press freaking releases, then slow down and think. Who does this image protect? And who does it expose? Am I helping or feeding a spectacle? Okay? Am I here for the right reasons? And do not ever think for 1 minute you being there isn't political, because the very fact you're documenting it is political. Whatever side you sit on, it's political and it will be used as in a political narrative, okay? So do not think, oh, I'm not very political, I'm just going. Then you are not the right person to be there, okay? It is not for likes and ego. It is not because you want to look cool on Instagram, or it doesn't want to look because you want to look edgy. All right? And I know I don't often come across like this. I know. But it's something I'm really worried about. I am seeing youngsters who have literally, I literally spoke to a guy in college. I don't even depressed. Can you help me? I'm like, no, I don't want you to go. Why? Because you're thinking it's fun. It's not a fun day out. Okay? It is not. It has repercussions. And you might think, oh, you're just scaremongering. You're right. I will. Because we've seen what happens, okay? It is not a fun thing. I have friends in America who literally are worried about even going out with their phones now in case something happens to them, okay? Don't think of this as I'm going to be edgy and be the envious of all my friends. That is not the right mentality to have for this. So I want to talk about safety, especially in this age of content creation, because there's a growing number of people turning up to protest, not to document, to almost be performative, to live stream every confrontation, shout commentary over real fear, and putting themselves and others in danger for engagement. This is not protest photography. This is your ego with a wide-angle lens. I have been pepper sprayed. I have been threatened to the point where someone actually threatened to R-word me, because I can't say that word here without triggering people, and unalive me. Numerous times. In fact, I think I talked about it on my TikTok and shared some of the comments. I've been asked to be present at protests by protesters who want their story told, and then confronted by others furious that there was a camera there at all. I've had to go through my images and make sure I mask some people out because they don't mind that I'm there, but they don't want to be identified, okay? That tension exists because cameras have consequences. Now, it's up to you whether you choose to do that, but be aware it comes with consequences. And if you don't understand those, maybe you shouldn't be there. No image is worth escalating violence, and no reel is worth an arrest of you. No amount of likes makes you immune to batons, pepper spray, or the trauma, because seeing violence up front, anger up front, and conflict up front will affect you. We cannot expect an explicit ban on protest photography, right? I do not want that ever. Fear will do that job, though. Because when photographers stop attending because they're worried about repercussions, because they see the escalation of violence towards them, when it feels unsafe or it becomes legally murky or it's financially unrewarding, for those of you who only do it for that, you will stop attending. The record will disappear. And history gets rewritten by those with the loudest microphones or the plinth in the White Office. And here's where I land on this. I'm fiercely against censorship. I think you can tell that with me. I believe documenting a protest is vital, necessary, and increasingly dangerous, which is exactly why it matters. But I'm equally against turning resistance into content farming. So if you're there for likes, you are part of the problem. If you don't know your rights, your exit routes, or the people you're photographing, you're gambling with more than just your own safety, theirs and everyone about you. Photographers and videographers has shaped history, who shaped history weren't chasing virality. They were committed to the truth, even when it cost them. Your job is not to be the loudest person at the protest or the best dressed or the prettiest person or the person with the most followers. Your job is to see clearly, act responsibly, and know when the story ends before you do. Because the most radical thing a photographer can do right now isn't going viral, it's staying ethical in a system that rewards spectacle. Okay, I think my rant's over. I've reread this and I've scripted it, I wrote it twice, I've recorded it, and this is my 4th recording of this. I don't know if I've done this right, and you're probably gonna hate me, I'm probably gonna lose followers. I hope you're gonna go, "Khandie, I love the passion you've got. Girl, I'm subscribing, I'm liking, I'm sharing this." I know that some university students have reached out to me to talk about this because their tutors are having these questions with them and discussing this. This is freaking beautiful. Discuss this. Talk about this. But if you are photographing protests, I want to hear from you. And if you stopped, I want to know why. And if you're thinking about it, let me know. And also listen to this episode twice. Because protest photography isn't just about what you see, it's about what you're willing to risk and what you refuse to lose. This has been The Loud Lens. And sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room is not the camera, but it's actually the people who are trying to stop you having it there in the first place. Oh, that's a deep and heavy one. I'm gonna go now. Yeah. I think I might lose some followers on this. I hope not. I hope you understand it's coming from a place of some knowledge, some passion, maybe a lot of passion, but you also have no doubt what my political persuasion is. Okay, take care. And to everybody who's out there right now photographing this stuff, keep it up, but more importantly, keep safe. My hat is off to anybody who's doing it because what I'm seeing in America is shocking, shocking. And I know it's very, how to say, it's very right now to talk about the US, it is. But I'm seeing students debating it here in the UK, and I'm seeing some of my friends talk about it. And I feel like it was a good time to do the episode. Also, because we do have ongoing protests and riots here. Well, not ongoing protests, not so much riots. The riots were in the summer mostly. Ongoing protests here in the United Kingdom, and I know a lot of people will go to them and they'll do their thing for it. And I have been to some, and I've been to even one locally in this town, and I've always enjoyed documenting them. It's been especially if it aligns with me, but it has not been lost on me that sometimes I get abuse, even from just photographing small gatherings in my own town. I've had some serious ones. I will say, there's been ones that we've had to notify the old constabulary on because we need it documented, if nothing else. And people are really silly because they forget about IP addresses. But yes, I just want you to be safe out there. I know that's really hard to do now in the world of the social media and the internet, but please do not be going to this for the wrong reason. And keep an eye on your peripherals and wear good shoes and bring eye protection. I'm laughing, but it's not a laughing matter. I don't know how else to talk about this. I'm gonna go now. I need a coffee. I'm recording this because I kept up all night about this. I'm recording this at 5:02 a.m. in the morning. Yep. Anyway, this has been The Loud Lens. I've been Khandie. I hope this has at least been a great point of discussion. I'd love to hear from you.